nerderotic.com.
So let's talk about Supergirl. Yes, it's still in the news because we got numbers. We have some recent numbers, and the way it's being framed in one article, they put it at Supergirl still at number 2 because they just counted the day. They didn't count the weekend. So I don't know if it's going to drop to number 4. I'm hoping it does, but at least be number 3. But how Supergirl ran into kryptonite at the box office, Superman's cousin to lose $125 million. So if Deadline is saying it's $125 million, it's probably $225 million. Let's be real. So the preamble here is Kevin Feige once said it's riskier to do an Iron Man 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 than it is to try characters like Ant-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy. I would beg to differ because Ant-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy worked because you had already established the main characters, but it looks like James Gunn took that and believed it and also thought he could do anything he wants. So he decided to take all the risks up front and do a Supergirl movie as his second film in the DCU, which wasn't originally supposed to be his second film. It was supposed to be The Authority, which would have been fucking horrible, but Supergirl's pretty close to being just as bad of a decision. It turns out, because it should have been Batman, and after that it should have been Wonder Woman. Everybody knows this. Flash put up a clip of from the Snyder Cut of Wonder Woman saving the people at the bank in the UK, and it's better than anything Gunn has ever done. Just that scene of Gal Gadot who can't act, but it's still an awesome scene. It
has respect for the character.
No.
Yes.
If you go back to the trailer is just better than anything Supergirl's put out at all. It's traditional heroism. And this is one of the things that they failed to... they were somehow arguing for Supergirl, but they said the reason why Wonder Woman worked is because it was made for men. It had traditional masculine heroism. She was designed for the male gaze. She was incredibly attractive. And somehow all of these were meant to be negative points against it.
I know. It was just... how could you be so surprised when you have a male-centric audience for comic books, which is a male-centric medium? Just be real. And then you put out a character that is so messy and the opposite of the male gaze, and then it flops.
Well, right. You end up taking these female characters, and what you are doing is you are completely erasing their femininity, even though that is when the most women were going to see these movies. Women want to see the Wonder Womans, and I think that they should have made a Black Widow movie several years earlier with the good version of Black Widow that we had, not the, hey, we're going to turn her into a feminist icon version. The women that they are trying to market a movie like this to, and even the young girls, they're not interested. And what you are doing is you are pushing away the men in your audience that you once had, and you are also pushing away the women that you have in your audience, like me, for example, who actually cared about the comics and the superheroes, not them pushing some modern day ideology and narrative into a product that is, oh, we need to prop women up on a pedestal and then denigrate men, and all of the men are stupid in these stories. That's not going to fly.
Normal people don't like feminists.
Yeah,
they're not savory
feminists
people.
don't like feminists.
Right, even the
That's
feminists hate each other because they all want to be the lead feminist.
Oh, they even hate themselves. And
Yeah.
the word that describes like Supergirl is repulsive. The film was repulsive, the character was repulsive, and they made her look repulsive. They made Millie Alcock look worse in the film than she does in real life. As some type of, female empowerment thing, because men, you're not allowed to objectify us, so we're going to make us look ugly on purpose. That's what the feminists do.
Yeah, and there was even a clip on social media of Millie Alcock talking about how they didn't put a wig on her and it was just her natural hair, like she rolled out of bed and they'd add a few extra curls because they wanted her to feel as comfortable as possible and they wanted to have the most natural version of a woman in this story. Like, put on some deodorant and brush your hair, lady. Holy fuck.
Holy damn.
Disbrew said it best. Every superhero needs to be a 10.
Yes.
Yes.
Hands down.
Yeah. And it's not even just the objectification, although that's going to help you sell tickets. It's the fact that attractive people have a halo effect where you think they are better at everything they do. And so it makes it more believable. There's a shorthand involved with attractiveness where you don't have to go through and go, well, these people are good at this and this and this and this. And I do think it's down to insecurity of people like James Gunn that heroes make them feel worse about themselves because they can't compete. And they don't see it as something to improve to. They just realize that they are the filthy degenerate and they want everyone to accept the way that they are. And that's how you end up with Supergirl. Like, if you wanted to see Supergirl, you wouldn't go to the movie, you'd go to a grocery store in the middle of the night and watch people shop in their pajamas. Right. If you really want to watch, I don't want normal people in my movies. I go to movies to escape normal people.
Well, there's like a reason why throughout history, like sculptures and paintings are of like good looking people and not like fat, frumpy, ugly people. And the only people that actually, the only fat, ugly people that were getting paintings of them were like super wealthy people who threatened to kill the people that if they didn't paint them. Like,
and you know, the best example of the halo effect you'll talk about, Disprue, is Gal Gadot, where she's like, went under the radar, her acting ability went under the radar for so long because people weren't paying attention to her acting, they were looking at her.
But she fit the character. Like, that's the thing, is like, look like the character, act like the character. And if you're in all these characters, they, like I said earlier, they're the pinnacle of man. They're like the ideal of ideals. Superman is not just some frumpy loser like he is in freaking James Gunn's universe. He's the most fit dude. He's the most like brainy guy. He knows what he's doing. He's a leader, and he's a person that when he walks in the room, people look to him for what are we doing?
Aura.
He's got the aura. And the Superman and all of the characters so far don't have any aura. Peacemaker, zero aura.
Well, that
Supergirl, zero aura. Like, they're all
Chad.
Losers.
He's such a Chad that like Dr. Manhattan was like, I can't even get rid of this guy, dude. Like, it's Superman.
Yeah, they have to have this sense of power, and none of the characters do. They have the video that came out with James Gunn and David Cornsweet arguing about that last scene. David Cornsweet had the right angle. He was like, I should be saying this in confidence. And he's like, no, your humanity is about how you feel about how Lex is what. Get the fuck out of here with that. I want a manly man as Superman.
James Gunn is a guy who cries recounting his own script from Peacemaker. That's in a video where he's crying, recounting his own writing. Yeah, and it's so beautiful what I wrote, and he's crying, and I'm like, well, that explains a lot. So back to the article real quick. We go to Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. It's a couple paragraphs down. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow was a sophisticated story about Superman's cousin. So I'm going to stop you right there. It was not a sophisticated story. It was true grit done in space and made in the most Tom King way. Tom King has a lot of issues.
Just a tad.
Some mommy issues, some women issues. He obviously is self-loathing and hates men. It's just hilarious to see that the people who were supporting him now don't support him because he is former CIA, and that all of a sudden became a problem during the conflict in the sandbox. So it's funny to see that. So Kara Zor-El coming out of her drunken stupor to avenge the murders of a young girl's family at the hands of the notorious villain Krem. Clearly, the IP was go on.
That wasn't even her motivation.
No,
that was accidental at the very end of the movie. The entire movie is her going, I'm not going to kill him for you. I just want my dog. And only because she would not piss off and leave her alone does she actually end up getting revenge.
So their only cope is to compare it to Supergirl from the 80s. Clearly, the IP was a significant one-up from the 1980s Superman produced by Alexander Salkin's spin-off Supergirl. I don't know about that. I'd go back, watch that movie, and I'll probably like it more.
I feel like just off a rip, I think it's going to be better.
Yeah, goofy
because it's got style.
Which Warner Brothers passed on releasing in 1984 and let TriStar do it, following the tanking of the Richard Pryor starring Superman 3. That's all Alexander Salkin's fault, by the way.
Still better than Supergirl.
The earlier Supergirl, headlined by Helen Slater, deep sixth at the box office with just over 14 million domestic per Box Office Mojo. Now, they're saying it's going to lose $125 million again. I think it's going to be a lot more. Social media movie analytics firm Relish Mix reported before the Pix opening, mixed negative leaning chatter for Supergirl centers on concerns that the film feels overly James Gunn coded You don't say. With recurring criticism aimed at the humor, characterization, and perceived Guardian-style DNA. Well, nobody was wrong there. Skeptics argue Kara comes across less like Supergirl and more like a cosmic anti-hero. That's exactly what she is in the movie.
Like,
could be a
anti-heroes
cool
can
thing.
still be heroes. I don't think she's a hero. She's like, I might save you if it's kind of, convenient.
No, she doesn't grow as a character. She doesn't go through this hero's journey the way that she should. And by the end, she hasn't grown as a character at all.
Yeah.
She
They
only
admitted that,
saved
too.
the women that were trapped
she
in there
did that.
because she was
Right.
there. Like,
It
not
was
because out of her
convenient.
own.
She's like, I might as well. It'll only take me 2 extra seconds.
You have the
Which is pretty
opportunity
cynical
with
if you
this
think about it.
to like hold up a mirror and make David Cornsweet's Superman look better by being the inspiration that reminds her like what it means to be a hero. And they don't do any of that. They're just like, oh yeah, make sure to throw him in here so you can shit on him more.
And if she was messy and destructive or whatever in the beginning of the movie, that could be fine. If in the movie at any point they looked inward and said, this is not a good way to live, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, but they didn't do that. At no point did she go, maybe I shouldn't be selfish and sit this. They tried to throw it in at the end and go, she's going back to Earth and she's going to help Superman. That's not accepting that she was in the wrong acting like that.
No,
Yeah, as a
I think
hero.
it's very similar because it's like if I can accept her crapping all over Superman if she went back and said, you know what, Clark, I am so sorry. You were 100% right.
Yes,
I was
you're
waiting for
right.
that.
I
But they
have
can't do that.
powers. I
They
have
can't do
powers
that.
that can save a lot of people, and
No.
I'm not doing that. I have the responsibility.
Comics
to do
is
that.
right.
She never did.
They can't do that.
Comics is
Because that would be removing her agency. And this is where DEI and intersectionalism becomes predictable and it ruins storytelling. And it's not the fact that somebody's Black or Latino. It's, I know they're safe and I know they won't be accountable for the most part.
Yep.
And even when they do make them the villains, well, it's because they were oppressed or, misunderstood or something horrible happened in their lives. And trauma somehow allows you to be a complete asshole for the rest of your life, which it doesn't. It's not
I
how
sold
life
my soul
works.
to Mephisto because nobody gave me $1 billion.
Right.
I didn't have to do this.
And
But
all
you guys
this,
made me.
Yeah.
all this
Tony
is
Stark's fault.
racist. If you guys didn't know, Hollywood, that is racist.
That's why this film is woke in its DNA. The actual reason for the plot and all the underlying issues come from that woke, especially feminist mentality, where
Intersectionalism.
she has to be validated. She can't acknowledge her own faults and grow and beyond them. And she especially can't ever be saved by a man. And she can't be taught lessons by a man, Superman, because that's a woman being subservient to a man. And that is anathema to modern woke Hollywood. And we're talking about how important certain tropes are previously. Hollywood has like almost a mandate now that a woman can never be saved by a man. And
It's a
when it
woman
happens, it's an exception to the standard that they are still absolutely obsessed with. And that right there reveals that they will never be able to write good stories, because especially heroic stories, because heroism is founded on masculinity, and so much of that is men saving women. Okay, but they don't want to do that. They have literally broken reality in their scripts. I get so pissed off with because they did in Wheel of Time. They had a character tied to a chair, teleport out of a chair, and save the men to avoid him saving her.
It's not just that though. It's their idea of freedom being you can't have any standards, because she should be able to act however she wants. So if she doesn't want to save anyone, that's fine, and you have to accept her being messy. Whereas heroism is based on the idea of duty, that you have to do this because you're the only person that can, and it doesn't matter whether you want to or not. Hancock, when he was drunk and alcoholic and everything, he still went out and saved people. He just did it in a hungover way and smashed into everything because he was pissed out of his mind. Whereas it's like, no, you can't judge her. It's like, well, no, I can. That's what makes people better.
Yeah. I mean, Shad, they're trying. I agree, Disbrew. They're trying to like reshape reality as we know, and we'll get to Elliot Page. Right, we'll get to that because I mean, we'll get to Elliot Page.
You're getting yours, Elliot. Don't you worry.
Elliot.
It's a fine six-pack, though.
So back to the article. When things get negative, I can't. Okay, so Hollywood does pay people a lot of money to figure this kind of stuff out. It's really groundbreaking, shocking. When things get negative on a superhero property, they go negative quickly in a meteoric way. One industry analyst told us, citing examples of The Flash, which was dogged by tabloid reports about its star Ezra Miller before opening. You mean the stuff Ezra Miller was doing? Yeah, his crimes.
His crimes across America.
Choke slamming a woman to a floor, shouting, "Do you want to fight?" So yeah, I think that kind of
He
went
hit
a little
a
bit
woman in the head
viral.
with a chair, and then
People need to
ran
be
from the
criticized.
cops.
It was the tabloids dogging him, reporting on all his crimes.
Oh, the humanity.
He's on the run from the
where are
cops.
you
He's joined a
reading?
cult, and they're like,
Taking
"Why are
long.
you being so mean to him? He's just
Yeah, man makes a few mistakes and you'll never let it go.
a goose wizard. Leave him alone."
It's the best self-made nickname ever.
The Marvels, as well as Joker for Les Adieux, and Stephen Sondheim like musical No Fan Wanted. Yes, like this movie. It was listen, the Flash didn't look good, but that was another film that was completely gassed up to be like, remember they showed it a year early at CinemaCon and everybody's like, this is great.
James Gunn said it was a fantastic film, one of his favorite films. Multiple times he said this.
Critics and fanboy media thrash Supergirl not just for its Guardians of the Galaxy touchstones. Actually, that's the least of my fucking concerns with the movie, but also for aping Mad Max. How dare Supergirl save enslaved women in the galaxy like Mad Max and Furiosa?
Yeah, I mean, she's basically Furiosa, so.
I mean, I keep seeing this point brought up by people and saying this is why people didn't like the movie. I've never seen anyone actually critique it for that, ever. It's not barely even mentioned in reviews, because it's one fight scene that doesn't even really make any sense. The women essentially get teleported out of the room, and she goes, "That's the last one." It's like, well, when did you save them? They're all dying.
What about the sleeper hit of a summer of a couple of years ago that was about people saving women and children called Sound of Freedom that you completely fucking ignored, Deadline?
Well, they just call it fake.
Fuck
that's
off.
That's how they get around this.
Well, you see,
It
these
was
were
fake, he
women.
lied.
These are women that she saved, so it's more important than kids and little boys.
What's so hilarious is that obviously the Mary Sue is filled with a bunch of feminist fucks, but that's what they're doing right now.
Really fat.
They're talking about Army Hammer's new movie and saying now people are comparing Supergirl to this absolutely gross immigrant movie. And so the comparisons are actually very similar to Citizen Vigilante.
Yeah, which is a film filled with a message that's just a different kind of message, but it's still an act of defiance to Hollywood. So you got to credit it for that. But these female-led action picks and superhero properties come up against immense male toxicity. Hey, don't leave the women out of this one, you sexist bigot.
That was my favorite article that came out of this that said that women can also manufacture misogyny.
Yes.
What's that internalized misogyny?
Yeah, or internalized
Aren't men the
misogyny
ones
is off
that-
the charts for thinking that this movie
They don't
is
call
garbage.
it misogyny
All
for
right,
nothing.
we need the World War II ad with the woman that's in the
The flexing?
the flexing woman from World War II. It's like, we manufacture misogyny.
Oh God, Rosie
The one pointing, it's like misogynists need you.
I'm going to the misogyny factory after the show.
I can do it too. Yeah.
But this is a perfect example of them forcing everything to be sexist and misogynist when it's not. It was just a crap movie, and they're absolutely brain dead, because even though this film is failing, most of the people that showed up to watch it were still men. But no, it's because it's a woman-led female superhero thing. That's why it failed. You retards.
That doesn't work anymore.
I love
dude.
the evolution of cope that they have with who to blame. First, it was the incels. Then it's the misogynists. Then it's women being chased off from theaters by misogynists, and the toxic conversation around this movie. And then if you don't support this movie, you're clearly for child trafficking. It's just like, wow, that escalated fast.
No, but it is a case of
you
like,
didn't
what
support
do you want?
Sound of Freedom, so you are for human trafficking. Deadline based on your logic. Sorry, go on.
But they also
it is
don't
a case
agree with
of
that anyway.
It is a
they
case
don't
of what you want.
believe in that.
No.
That's the no. I prefer to take them at their word. I believe these are honest, just people that really, really mean what they say. So let's take their argument to its logical conclusion. That there's so many misogynists in the world that no film can actually succeed without being what they want. Well, then Hollywood's going to have to make it. You are arguing against if you want woke movies, don't go out and say misogynists rule the entire box office, because you're leaving them with only one conclusion.
Listen, it still would have sucked, but you have a different actress playing Supergirl, and she's smoking hot, like a fucking 20 out of 10. It would have probably made a little more money and wouldn't got any of the backlash, because listen, I love Dante. but people like Dante out there would have gone, well, she was hot, so I was at least looking at that. And I might have said that too. You don't know.
But like
Verbal Riot, by the way. We love Verbal Riot.
Yeah.
Hell.
Even if they didn't change much of the film, if they put like just a smoking knockout cast in the film and they made her look great in the film and they put that front and center in the marketing, it might have actually.
Yeah, she's running around in like a bikini and a trench coat, Like,
Well,
I'm just trying to help you, DC. Okay.
I don't know what she said, but I really liked looking at it.
The problem that arises, though, is that she would have had to have acted different on the red carpet and in these interviews. Like,
Yes.
she would have had to act like she actually cares a little bit for the fans instead of going on her rants about, Christian dads and she refuses to change. And this is such an empowering story. But that change in marketing with a beautiful woman, that would have at least made a couple million more dollars. I don't know if it would be massively successful still, but it would have done better.
Yeah. The movie.
That's why people like.
It doesn't matter.
That's why people like Sydney Sweeney and her campaigns, though, is because she's one of the only people in Hollywood that doesn't go around shaming people for looking at her. And when people do have a go at her, she wears a T-shirt that says "Sorry, I've got great tits." It's the opposite marketing of what everyone in Hollywood is told to do, and that's why she's successful with it.
Well, and hopefully she doesn't do what the Scarlett Johanssons of the world that know definitively they have great assets, and she still has great assets, by the way, but once they hit a certain age they all of a sudden become activists.
See that wall coming.
And then they claim
there's
that
something
there
to be
were
said,
victims
though.
and being objectified when
and they complain about it.
Well, the smart thing about Sydney Sweeney is like she's doing a lot of producing and other things, and has said, one day when I hit the wall, like I'll just keep working behind the camera because one day my looks won't be the thing that sells.
Right, she'll have established herself by that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the actresses are just like, no, you just have to keep watching me because like I'm a woman and I deserve it. And you're like, that's not how that works. Never has been. Sorry.
Yeah, but there is something to be said about this movie when it comes to. Firstly, it's not for fans. This wasn't made for fans.
Nope.
This was made to create new fans with likely children. Like this is 100% to capture children, and they don't care about anybody who had any kind of connection to Supergirl before. It's not made for you. But then the second thing is, and it's something that Chad was talking about. I mean, we all have, but Chad said something that like keyed me in on this. This movie's covert woke. It's not woke. It is if we know because all of us here, we're paying attention to it. But to a normie at home, it's not endgame A-Force, girls get it done, stand together. It is much more subtle, which means somebody has been paying attention and somebody's been listening to people, on the internet like us who've been calling it out, and they're starting to get a little bit sneakier with how they get this messaging in. I mean, we could break it down and talk about it and explain it away, but unless you're watching people like us and we're focusing on telling that, right? Families aren't going to catch it. Families, if you pay attention to the normie audience that are saying this, they're walking out saying, I didn't like it. But then they don't have the ability to explain why. They don't have the words to explain why. They just know that there's something about it that they didn't quite like. Whether it's her being a belligerent drunk or the dog pissing on Superman. It's covert. Yeah. And if this is trying to do that and then pointing it towards kids, we have bigger problems in play. It's not just about Supergirl. It's about what's happening next, what's in play right now, and what their not new target, but this is the target. They're not making these for us. They don't care if these things burn out. Peter Safran, as soon as it was out and it tanked, he's like, well, it's just one cog in our business machine. Like, you're saving face, but I believe that shit.
Millie Alcock and said after the controversies, he said, "You're doing great. Don't worry about anything."
Yeah, but like Wizard was just saying,
concerning.
I mean, that's how cultural Marxism works. These people try to disguise themselves and the messages that they want to push, and they change their wording, they change the storytelling to push their ideology. They're chameleons.
Yep.
So one of the reasons why I'm not super concerned, right, is because this ideology is such anathema to good storytelling. Like, good storytelling is tied with some of those classic tropes. They can only, can we name of something that was super woke that was actually really good? There's very, very few things we could potentially point
recently, nothing.
Everything, the ones that everywhere, all at once.
The ones that are tend to be because they're honest, and so what they think is good is what you think is evil. What you think is evil is what they think is good, and so you just read it from the other perspective, like Barbie. that would probably be the thing.
One that we could have a discussion on, because some people say it's anti-woke because they were so overt that they still.
Well, it's honest, but it doesn't mean what everyone took it to mean. Is essentially the thing.
No, because that speech that America, whatever her name is,
that was
it was god awful.
That tells you exactly how they felt.
Yeah, they're like, guys, we haven't pushed the message hard enough. Like, let's get it in there right now.
What, you're not supposed to like Ken. No, what do you don't like my movie like that?
Like, honestly, I've pointed this out before. It's very much like a religious film. Because, like, at some point in the religious film, some guy's going to stop and look directly at the camera and tell you, like, you need to go to church and you need to accept Jesus into your life. You're like, what does that have to do with what's happening right now in the scene? And they're like, just
Gary, what was that article? It's the altar call.
Altar
That's
calls.
what that was.
It's the altar
call. Yeah, altar
He was
calls. So
preaching
we now
his sermon up there at the end.
We now have altar calls for woke and intersectional entertainment.
because you have to make.
But I think like
sure
Wizard
that
was
you got
hitting it on the head right
message
there.
Across.
Like, I think main audiences, they pick up on that subconsciously and they go, oh, I don't like these movies because they're trying to preach to me in some way. And then the studios go, they've figured that out, that audiences don't like that. So now they're going underground. They're kind of making it subverted. The Toy Story 5 of it, where it's there if you're paying attention.
It's funny.
Remember, that's
It's
hard
just
to
put your
tell
kids in front of
because
it
we're gonna
and you're
age
not
out at
thinking
some
about
point.
it.
It's a silly haha.
Yeah.
On the preaching thing, right? People don't like when they're getting preached to things that they disagree with or they don't want to be on board, or even if they're ambivalent towards. But when a movie preaches a universal message, look at Lord of the Rings, Gandalf's speech about, what's important is that we do the right thing when these hard times come up and stuff like that.
Mhm.
That was inspiring because it's an uplifting message that everyone can get on board with.
The problem with that is, and we saw this a lot with Doctor Who, is they think the universal message of being against genocide or actual racism is like just woke. It's like, no, these are basic things that most humans believe.
Yeah.
Nobody's for genocide.
No, exactly.
There might be a couple people out there, but nobody's for it. All right. So that's not your domain. Nobody's for murder and child trafficking being brought up again, which I think is hilarious, was something that Hollywood was completely silent about for a long fucking time. And all of a sudden,
absolutely,
because of the Epstein files, we're all for it now because it'll take down the guy we don't like. You don't really fucking give a shit about.
But then
It's 'cause
a
they can
report
gain
comes out in the
social
UK. You don't
points
talk about
for
that.
it.
Yes, they can.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Completely mute about that.
Or like a certain somebody who's married to Johnny Depp who was reportedly throwing massive orgy parties and forcing young actresses to go to these and get banged by billionaires. Look at Cara Delevingne, Cara Delevingne or whatever her career.
Delevingne,
she was like one of them, and she's admitted, she's like, yeah, my life fucking sucks. Like, but
you do have a point though, Fake Wizard. They are trying to sneak it in still.
Absolutely.
And
yes,
the problem,
be very alert.
the problem, Chad, is that your position, and I like your position because I've heard you talk about it on other streams of,
Missionary.
well, the good stuff is always going to rise to the top. The good stuff is always going to beat out the bad.
No.
But what happens when all of the good stuff from before is gone? Now hang on, because Supergirl now has just taken a massive cultural hit. Comics aren't in a good spot to begin with. And now we just had universally everybody saying, whether you saw this movie or not, Supergirl, bad movie, bad character. It was bad. It was bad. So now let's play that out a couple of years in the zeitgeist. Supergirl, that's boring. That's bad. I don't like that. The actual character has been damaged. Last year, we had the Superman movie. Superman as a character has been damaged, whether we want to believe it or not.
Further
it's not,
damaged
and it's
in
not
this
about
movie.
us.
Further damaged in this movie, by the way.
Yep.
It's about the next generation and their interpretation of these characters. We've got a Gandalf here, and it's immortalized in the Peter Jackson film. Peter Jackson's still making movies.
Yeah,
and he can undermine that.
100%. And that's the problem. As Gen Z, as much shit as we give them, has been shoveled shit and considering how young they are, Gen Alpha, they've been shoveled shit for the last half decade or more.
Yeah,
their whole life.
I think I say this every time I come on the show,
article
but
in a
like
second.
that's why you make prequels, because prequels mean you can rewrite those histories.
Yep.
And now the thing is, they got smart enough, and a lot of people didn't realize what was happening until much later. They were making clip farm moments in their shows to put on TikTok because that's where Gen Z was and all the next generation is. So they watch that and think, this is Star Trek. And you fill those comments section with, this is quintessential Star Trek. This is the best thing I've ever seen. They go, oh, wow, this must be amazing. And then they defend these shows without actually even watching them. They just watch clips on TikTok about it and think that this is what they should expect from these shows. Because, yeah, they're hoping when they become adults that that's what they'll be okay with, and that's how they'll think about
the
that.
thing
right,
is,
they
though,
put the ideology in these works without the normal person or the average person understanding what they're watching. They feel a little off, but then it puts those ideas in their head without them outright understanding, and then you have these characters constantly being altered and altered and altered until you get to a point where the entire IP is unrecognizable or that character is unrecognizable, but they want that to be normalized.
I think what you end up with, though, is you end up with like the conscious indoctrination. So children will like these stories because they don't think of them that level. They don't understand why anyone wants to sacrifice themselves for heroism. They just like the moving pictures. But adults, even if they go through the indoctrination to the point where they agree that for some reason heroism is bad and everything, they're still not satisfied by the stories. And you see this now with left-wing people. They don't like these movies either. They've also gone through all of the standard indoctrination. They also agree with everything Hollywood says, but when they watch the movies, they don't like them because there's something missing. And I do think there's like this evolved response to like things like a man dies for a king, country to defend his tribe, his people, his homeland. These aren't conscious beliefs. They're evolved civilizational, like reinforcing things that just help the species continue. And I'm not sure you can indoctrinate that out of people. And we've seen that with various different cultural moments, like the trans stuff, where the moment you hit something which is core to humanity, nobody goes for it. And that was like one of the most pushed things over the last 100 years. Still didn't work.
Well, just as indoctrinated as people can become, there are those moments where you see him reset to factory settings where they're just given something that hits exactly what Disprue was saying, almost an evolved sense of, progression need that people have to what to be like, and then they recognize it and they will gravitate back towards
a great example of that is a lug, lesbian until graduation. They're lesbian at college, then they find the right guy, and they are trad wives for the rest of their lives. I have a family member who did that, which is awesome, by the way.
I went to school with a girl who was one of the gayest people I've ever met, and now she's married to a man, got 2 kids, and she's very happy.
All right, so back to Deadline. These female-led action picks and superhero properties come up against immense male toxicity, with some critics picking on Supergirl headliner Millie Alcock's physique. No, her physique is fine. It's just the way she was shot. Okay, I was for the casting. She's not ugly, but they made her look ugly in that movie. And
it's also her outfit. If you compare her outfit to the end of Superman, it's different. The skirt in Superman is way shorter. It looks way brighter. She smiles more. She looks an entirely different, more messy person, which if that's supposed to be afterwards, doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
It's like what they did with Madam Web. You had some really beautiful women, and then you dumbed them down in the movie when on the red carpet, they look like bombshells.
Yep.
But we need to avoid appealing to the male gaze.
Which none of the actresses in Madam Web were completely fine with people staring at them, by the way, which is a shame. Captain Marvel, given that it was a bridge to Avengers Endgame in March 2019, was able to withstand such nastiness with a $1.1 billion gross. Different times back then, too. You can also release an Aquaman film that made $1 billion. That was not very good. Yep. Its 2023 successor, The Marvels, however, could not. $206 million. Also, Invincible was 2017's Wonder Woman at $823 million worldwide. The thing is, that's why we have to look at these things individually, because context matters. The context of Wonder Woman being the top tier female superhero that's never had a big budget movie ever made. That's a big deal. That helped this a lot. And listen, the movie's not great. Nobody will ever look at as high art, but at least the character of Wonder Woman is likable. That's pretty easy. It's a lot. It's a likable hero's journey. It's normal. You can have your criticisms. I'm right there with you.
That actually, with the Wonder Woman stuff there, it says she's an incredibly popular hero. Women actually loved her. This is the best IP we can get for women. Still only brought in 55% of the audience. Even at the peak that they can manage, and they're bragging about it.
Because Wonder Woman is a movie made for men. Supergirl was a comic book made for men. It's not like Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow as a comic book, as a floppy, sold out anywhere. And it spiked as all graphic novels do when a movie comes out. It spiked a little bit. And it's useless because, well, they missed the whole point of the ending, which is better, even though it's written by Tom King. It's better than the movie. So at the very end, it says, when it comes to making superhero movies or a superhero movie leap off a building nowadays, with a single bound, one studio insider asserts, good, not great, doesn't cut it. You can't get away with it. The fans will have their knives out for you. Well, the reason they have their knives out is because you've been shoveling shit at them for the last 5 years. DC, you put out 6 fucking flops in a row. What do you expect?
Right.
And you released them. Like, why did you cancel Batgirl and then release movies that are just as bad? Batgirl, that was, by the way, the script was punched up by the screenwriter who got equal billing with the director of Supergirl. What do you expect? You know, like their argument goes, you know, look at the excitement for Spider-Man. Don't know if it's going to be a good movie, but there's tons of excitement. Tickets are selling great. Its first weekend is going to make a lot of money, and it depends on how good the movie is. I suspect it's going to do pretty well. Later on in the show, we are going to go over the Doomsday spoilers. So we'll put up the spoiler panel. We're going to wait till later so people who don't want to get ruined. I've talked about them already a lot on this show, and all that stuff is in there, and it sounds awful. It sounds like an awful movie.
Like a giant piece of crap in regards to the plot.
so
The entire plot is leaked. I read through it. This film sounds like a massive turd.
Well,
I
something
think
I've been
There's
saying
no
for a
way
while.
it can't not be a freaking turd. There's a million people in it.
What will be
Gonna turn
brought
off a lot
up
of
by the
people.
media is superhero fatigue, which is a very nuanced argument, because if superhero movies were even half good or mediocre, you wouldn't have superhero fatigue right now. You just wouldn't. It depends. It all depends on quality, but we haven't had that. So the superhero fatigue is here with Hollywood, and they're the ones who pay for the movies and make the movies, and they are definitely getting tired. And with this many failures, they're going to take fewer chances. And I think we're near a future of Spider-Man and Batman movies, but getting the third tier character movie is, I just don't think we're going to get that a lot. Remember, we were actually healthier before when we were getting comic book movies outside of Marvel and DC. When we were getting Hellboy and, you know, The Crow
Sin
or
City and-
Dread.
Yeah.
They
and-
really struggle.
great.
They really struggle to make Batman movies, though, because they see him as like peak capitalist who beats up mentally ill poor people. Like, that is their view of him, and that's why all the properties of Batman are like, well, what if we killed Batman and then just had other people in the show instead?
What about Batman character without Batman?
Yeah.
Again.
So I'm not sure you're ever going to
Clayface.
get like peak Batman as a decent thing, even if they needed to. Not like you get with Spider-Man.
I think that we're seeing and hearing of a lot of animateds that people are very intrigued by.
Yeah.
Like you have Absolute, you have Nightfall. These are things that people do have a general level of interest in. Now, if those will still be good, who knows? Because you cannot trust any of the people that are writing any of these projects anymore. You can't even in the video game industry, when we previously went from Arkham versus and Spider-Mans that people loved, and then you get Kill the Justice League that completely disrespects the legacy of these characters, and then you end up getting Spider-Man 2 where everything is gay and you have a black blind or deaf woman graffitiing walls, and that's supposed to be, you know, a big point for Miles Morales' story. But yeah, I mean, there is a little bit of hope. It's just not in live actions, and that little bit of hope can disappear very quickly.
Well, I think what we're seeing is westerns. Hollywood that was obsessed with westerns. There's westerns all over, like in the 1950s, 40s, and 50s. Loved westerns. Then it was oversaturated, not because there was just a lot of them, but because there was a lot of shit. There was a lot of just poor quality stuff out there. So audiences stopped caring about that, and they wanted to see other things. That's what we're seeing now. We had a
And the
pinnacle,
Western never went away.
and it never
Like,
went
they
away.
still
No,
make
it
them.
We had a
didn't.
pinnacle where it was just peak of superhero movies, and that has petered away because people are tired of seeing the crap that they're putting out. They'll still be like the random superhero movie, but it's not going to be the peak that it used to be unless they turn it around consistently.
The problem is
they're
they
not
don't have
going-
anything.
Endgame is
They don't have
gonna
anything to fall
nail it.
back
And
on.
they just can't.
They've killed a lot of genre films, and they've killed a lot of things that were marketed specifically to different demographics. They've killed the rom-com. They've killed a lot of action films. All have to be that. Yeah, they killed a ton of comedies. They've killed black comedies. All started becoming really homogenized as well because they were trying not to offend anybody. So they don't have anything to fall back on. And the other side of this, and the reason that I think they're frustrated too, is because never before have there been this many fans that have a vocal platform to call them out and then rally other people around them to continue calling them out. Most of the time, like, you could get like fan letters and stuff, but like they could ignore it and pretend that what people were saying didn't matter. Now they can't really hide that anymore, and they can't hide what they're doing because they keep getting exposed for all the stuff that they're doing. So like now that they're like, everybody's seeing their plan and how they operate, they don't really have a place to hide. They don't have anything to go back to. So they kind of just have to put up or shut up at this point.
Yeah. And you could think that, well, the corporations and the corporate critics in the access media, they created what you're seeing on YouTube, and they created it by not telling the truth. Yes. And that's why they're so upset that the TikTokers are taking their spot, because that, man, shilling is their territory. And I think they should fight for it. They should. But like that article that Jeremy went over, I sent him. We'll do it with the Odyssey. It talks about corporate critics basically being the dinosaur staring at a meteor. We'll go over it in a little bit.
So wild.
But first I got a couple, because the problem is Supergirl is now going to show up in Mana tomorrow and play a prominent part.
That's what they say.
That's what they say.
Allegedly.
I do hope that it ends up being like the Batman Part 2, where in that case I'm sad because Oz Cobb, whatever they want to call him, Penguin, he was supposed to have a larger role in the Batman Part 2 because the Penguin did so good, and unfortunately we're not going to be getting more of him. He's only got like a couple of minutes, which is very, very sad, but I kind of hope that happens with Supergirl, because I'm hoping that with Supergirl they just kind of go, we have too many characters, let's sort of throw her to the side and she can have 5 minutes of screen time and that's it.
I didn't hear this. So they're reduced. That is fucking
They
stupid.
initially said because of the success of the Penguin, they really wanted him to be like a focal point. But now, because they've hired so many large actors, they've had to reduce his role. And he said that he's got like 5 minutes of screen time. Colin Farrell said that.
It's almost like,
it's already or something.
It's almost like Matt Reeves. Like, doesn't know what he's doing.
Whoa, Mike.
Wait, crazy. Like, made a mid-Batman film. Now
crazy talk.
Took 7 years to make a worse one. Wow.
Will say
that's bad news.
Yeah.
Real bad news.
So this is Millie Alcock talking about Man Tomorrow. Well, it's up now.
We know that Man Tomorrow shooting, and you're a part of that.
Yeah.
What's it been like to be shooting your role in the film in the middle of all of this? Is it hard to kind of code switch?
It really is.
Yeah.
It's hard to code switch.
What?
And it's a different environment than the environment that we had on Supergirl. It's a different.
Is it?
It's a different story.
Thanks for pointing out. It's a different story.
We wouldn't have known.
I wouldn't have
thought it was
known
going to be exactly the
next
same.
movie. She was going to have the same story. I mean,
what's she even on about code switching? Because she's still Supergirl in everything she's doing. It's not like she's switching characters.
I think he means with the doing promo and then also filming.
Yeah, but in her defense, it is a James Gunn joint, so it might be the same story as something else before. You know,
I bet there's going to be a cute little animal in it.
Crypto's going to be in it.
I am so tired of the little cutesy, big-eyed, big-head fucking thing. James Gunn started this with Groot, with baby Groot, and everybody, oh, he's so cute. Look at him dance. He's so cute. And then he just did it again. And then Baby Yoda came behind and then did it again. And they just keep fucking doing this.
Baby Yoda at least tries to act cute, except when he's destroying entire species. Whereas the dog is just an arsehole 24 hours a day. He has no redeeming aspect.
I mean, if Kara was the one who raised you too, you'd act like a douche as well.
Yeah, completely untrained.
Good point. But the thing is, Baby Yoda is a derivative Yoda that's a ripoff of Gizmo from Gremlins.
Yes, 100%.
Like it's
tapping into the ancient brain of women going, you want a baby, but instead they're going, oh yeah, some baby Yoda, that's so cute.
Somebody asked if film it kind of relates to what's happened in the music industry as far as the degradation of the industry and the degradation of of innovation and creativity. And yes, it absolutely matches it because it's just sampling other movies now.
Yeah.
And sampling themselves, and not even the first time. We're at like the 5th or 6th time of sampling or paying homage, which is just ripping off.
Well, if you're a filmmaker and you were inspired by Guardians of the Galaxy, you probably should just stop making movies.
Yeah,
No, but they have nothing else. So you have AI, where one of the problems with AI is it eats its own information, and so it falls apart over time because it's eating its own flawed interpretation. But that's the same as people. That if they don't live your own life, you don't interact with things in the world. You're sitting in an office writing scripts, and the only inspiration you're getting is from other movies. And so as the movies will also degenerate in the same way because they're also getting inspired by those same movies.
Yeah, well, because they don't realize that this movie was inspired by this movie that inspired this movie that was inspired by a book from like forever ago. But if you don't know that, then like you said, yeah, it's a copy of a copy.
Supergirl
we're running out of ink.
It was a book ripping off another movie that was made into a movie that kind of ripped off the book and 2 other movies.
Yeah.
And you're just a man trying to be a man.
That's where we are.
Bear in mind, when I say most, like it seems like vast majority of people in Hollywood, including the writers, aren't actually creative, people. They're not imaginative. Like what Disbrew was saying, when they look at John Wick, they just think it was successful because of a dog. They don't understand the underlining reasons why the dog was important in John Wick. And so they end up just trying to copy the surface level stuff, making these, clone bullcrap, which is just like regurgitating.
Right.
crap.
They don't understand the emotional connection and what it actually means, the deeper meaning of the dog. They just go, it's a dog.
It's a dog.
Yep.
Let's throw a
They
dog
do
in.
surface level, and that's it.
Spider-Man No Way Home, a flawed movie that I liked, but what really worked in the final act was the dynamic between the 3 Spider-Men. Right. Yes. And they actually had an emotional connection. It was something that was real. What Disney Marvel took away from that was cameos.
Let's just
cameos.
Like it's like they're just so thick that they can't see this stuff, but it's because they're just corporate pen pushers that are just after pushing their own career and stuff like that, and they just end up regurgitating.
Well, I'll never not praise Willem Dafoe for going, bro, like, we're not on the same level of villain. I don't know what these guys have been doing around here, but like, I'm about to kill Aunt May, bro. And I was like,
Willem Dafoe became the best MCU villain. He did.
Good. Yeah.
But
Spider-Man.
all of the cast I've gotten to work with have been super open.
Yeah.
And really lovely. Like Nicholas Hoult, David.
He's a gem. I love him.
Love him. Alan, who plays Gary the robot, was also there.
Funny man.
He's so funny. And Lars, who had like a few people.
Brainiac himself.
I wish somebody would just say, this one guy, David Cornsweet, what asshole. Fucking prick.
I mean, James has said on the record that you have a big role in the film. Were you surprised?
Okay, I've got to rewind that again. You just heard that right.
You have a big role in the film. Were you surprised, excited when you read the script and saw how much you got to do?
Yeah. I'm excited. To keep doing it.
How are Clark and Kara doing? Is the relationship what we've seen before? Has it progressed?
I'm not going to tell you things.
But we know that Man of Tomorrow is shooting, and you're a part of that.
Yeah.
What's it been like?
She's going to play a big role in Man of Tomorrow.
I like how she responded. He goes, "Aren't you excited for the night?" You're like, "I'm so excited. I'm so happy.
I hope I get to keep doing it.
Keep doing this forever." Yeah.
She always acts like she is drunk or high or maybe mentally
Is she like
handicapped.
that in every interview?
All
Every
the
single
time.
interview, she's like this.
She's just like looking down at the floor. She's like, I'm just so happy to
I feel
watch
like
this.
she was acting in Supergirl. I think that's really
That
how
might just
she
be
is.
her.
Yeah, just like
What she said, she gets anxiety whenever she does these interviews, so it's probably
just like I think every celebrity is gay. Every one of them is on a cocktail of fucking pills.
That's true.
Like they all are for anxiety, and they get whatever the fuck they want, and they get it from the studio.
This rollout, especially with her playing a big role as Superman, this really is feeling like their intention was that Superman would come out, it would be successful, followed up right by Supergirl, and their hope would it be just as successful. The next film, she's in the next Superman film as much as Superman, and then it seems like the intent was to replace Superman with Supergirl in the long run. That was what they wanted. And now they're just hitting a wall because guess what? Supergirl is never going to be more popular than Superman. She's a
No, that was the
Absolutely
plan.
not.
Chad, that was the plan. The plan was Superman, failure. Supergirl, also failure. Part of the plan. Okay.
That's part of the
And then
plan.
the third one, then
Let 'em cook.
audiences are going to show
So,
up.
Shad,
You know
Marvel
what's-
tried doing something very similar with Spider-Man. They tried to make Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, as like the next big Spider-Man character, and it failed. Nobody liked the character.
The
Over
thing
and
is,
over
though,
again.
a lot of people are thinking with Supergirl killing the guy at the end that in Superman they'd have some kind of moral quandary between the two of them, and he would be teaching her something. It could just be the other way around, that she just lexes him about, because a lot of the way that
You won't do what
Gunn has
needs to be
pitched
done.
it is that he's subservient and everything, and she sees the truth. Like, she's not actually wrong in that situation, and so it could be, no, I'm going to try and convince Superman that he should be darker. He should be turned into a more killing person.
Well,
I've done the thing that I'll do the thing that you won't do so that I can keep people
Yes.
safe.
Well,
yeah.
you know who gives notes? Because James
Oh, I was
Gunn
wondering if
famously
you're gonna
doesn't
pull this
take
up.
notes from people and doesn't listen to actors like David Cornsweet, but he'll take them from his wife.
You want one of the first people to get to read James' scripts. I'm imagining. So, what kind of notes do you tend to give him back on his scripts? Like, what do you feel like you're good at, like pinpointing?
I think one of the best helps that I gave James, for instance, when he was writing
Helps?
season 2 of
So,
Peacemaker.
I'm going to give notes on writing and say the best helps that I give James. This is an actress who at best would get like a CSI guest star if it wasn't for marrying James Gunn, and now she's like the fucking Nick Fury of DCU.
Helps that I gave James, for instance, when he was writing season 2 of Peacemaker. And I read the first draft of like an earlier version of the story that he was coming up with. I was like, we haven't seen these characters for like 3 years by this time. We want to know what's been going on with the characters. Where have they been? You know, what's changed in their lives?
Your character was with another superhero to have sex with, so
She's like,
and I bet you that's one of her notes. She's like, I want to fuck Joel Kinnaman.
yeah. My note is hardcore should have sex with like every male character and maybe some of the females too.
Yeah.
Yada yada yada, and I don't feel like we're jumping into the things that really what interests us about these characters. He ended up scrapping that and just started over new, and that's when he came up with the story about, you know, season 2 that we have now, and which was really grounded in the relationships, in the loss of Chris's brother, in, you know, what has happened to Harcourt's career and how that.
What's happened to Harcourt's career? Well, she
Nobody
had
cares.
sex with Peacemaker, and she had sex, maybe 6 people had sex with her. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
With
there was
Rick Flag.
Imagine bragging about pestering your husband enough that he threw out the first draft of his script.
Has
guy-
changed.
And then he wrote a worse one.
Yeah, I mean, James Gunn.
It's her
Good
fault.
point.
Well done. Take credit for that piece.
Yeah, she's like, what was I giving notes?
Yeah.
I just kept talking to him and he just threw away the whole first script. I don't know. He
Well,
started
right.
a whole different one.
James Gunn and his wife writing are just 2 women writing. That's all that it boils down to.
Facts.
Who she is, and it really made for, I think, an incredibly dynamic season.
Really?
It was us.
Dynamic.
Was
Are you sure about
absolute
that?
crap.
Dynamically thrown into
Absolute
trash,
cinema.
maybe.
She's like, James,
we need to spend more time with these characters. Those characters are all pieces of crap. The only way like Peacemaker would have worked if he was killing lots of people and kicking ass. He barely did that the entire season.
But it sounds like that's what the first draft was. She said it focuses on the relationships, not what they're doing, which implies the first one was about actions.
Right, so it was even worse. It's like the joke about, well, they decided to release Supergirl. What were they hiding with a Batgirl?
Yeah.
Well, is Jennifer Holland going to give notes that, okay, in the future of the DCU, I want Harcourt to have sex with Martian Manhunter. I want
Superman for sure.
Maybe Dr. Fate, Superman for sure.
Yeah.
Jennifer Holland on Man of Tomorrow. I can tell you that I have seen an enormous portion of John Cena. I'm sorry, of the movie. And I am so excited for Man of Tomorrow. It is different. Don't want to say this. It might be James' my favorite movie of James. And I haven't seen the whole thing yet. I love the movie. I'm really excited for it. I feel like it's a step up to me. She hated Superman. She did because she wasn't in it.
Yeah.
For a lot of ways, I'm excited for people to see it, and he's not done filming it yet. Well,
is she in the movie?
She
Apparently, I mean, yeah. There's no way that she would sit here and praise it that
sounds like
much
everybody's
if she
in-
wasn't
Made him rewrite the
profiting.
entire script for season 2 of Peacemaker. Of course,
Sounds like everybody's in the movie except for Hal Jordan, who's going to die.
Yeah.
In the
He dies
Lantern
in Lanterns.
series, which is in
Yeah.
2 months.
August 16th.
Not looking forward to it.
He's going to die like the DCU, but it's the dead cinematic universe.
Yeah.
I was very proud of myself for that.
Imagine your husband's universally praised for his take on Guardians. She's like, I know this movie. This other stuff sucked, but this is the movie right
It's
here.
always the narrative of this is their best work yet. This is their best work yet. Whenever that becomes the point of conversation, you know it's going to be one of their worst yet, or it's going to be significantly worse than their best movie.
Yikes, bro.
Yeah. Oh, Garrett, well done on the DCU logo, by the way.
Hey, thank you.
Hell yeah.
You gave me the idea.
I tried to resist to say that for a long time, man.
It's-
I had to wait till
But
it
it's right
actually
there.
happened. But it was right there.
Yeah.
I had to pick it up.
It has
Or pick-
arrived.
It has arrived. The DCU.
I will see with Man of Tomorrow, man, if she is in there and she is bossing him around at any fucking point.
I don't
Everyone
think
else does.
You're right. I think he's going to
Carol,
waste
you're
time
right.
keeping her from killing people. I think he's going to be like a babysitter.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
I do like what people said, though. It changes Superman that now when he's walking around getting really angry, where's the dog? Where's the dog? Just because Supergirl is going to come back and destroy Earth if he does not find.
She absolutely solidifies Lex Luthor's argument. She she's terrible. They bring her in and somebody finds out that she killed a bunch of people. Well, then Lex has a point.
Yep.
Right.
He does.
And then he becomes president at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
James Gunn loved Zack Snyder's universe. That was his. He can say all day long, but his Superman was inspired by All-Star Superman. Said almost exact same quote that Zack Snyder said about his Superman. Brightburn
Gary,
flat out told you what he thought about Superman as a character and what he'd like to see. He may not have directed it, but
when the head of DC Studios doesn't know the middle name of Clark Kent and then says, I can't crack Superman until I looked at my dog. I mean, that's kind of a red flag.
I watched my dog shitting on the carpet and I was like, that's it? Dog shit. I now know what to do with this.
Accurate. Trained dog.
That'll
How did I
subvert
not think about it
expectations.
before? Yeah. What if I write a potentially bad script? No one will see that coming.
It baffles me how you can get paid millions and millions of dollars. Like, let's fathom it. Millions and millions of dollars to write and direct a movie about Superman and not do the bare minimum research and know what his name is. That just tells me about his entire scope of everything he's working on. He does not know anything else other than the top level of he's Superman.
It's not about Superman. It's not about Clark Kent. It is about changing the perception to these characters, putting their idealism of heroes attached to heroes that we already know. Like that's all it is, because they couldn't tell their own stories, their own ways. They couldn't make anything original. So they have to hijack what we know and change it over time. It's not, they don't need, that's Kevin Feige has been telling how many directors for how many years, don't look at the source material, write your own thing. Lucasfilm, and we got the same thing. Kathleen Kennedy tells Leslie Headland, I want to see your Star Wars story. What are you talking about?
Right. Nobody's interested in your superhero story or your interpretation or your new modern version. People want what they know. And sure, there are tiny little things that you could slightly change or slightly alter. It's like George R.R. Martin with the depiction of Viserys in it. Those writers were able to do justice to that character while keeping the essence of the character, not changing any of these large details about it. But someone like James Gunn, they do the bare minimum amount of research and work because they're not trying to actually tell you this character story. They're just going, this is what I think of Superman based off of all of these other Superman movies I've watched, because they've never picked up a comic book in their lives. And so they're like, well, this is what the fans want, even though it's not.
Well, James Gunn is the guy that wrote
Superman.
James Gunn.
It's the same thing with Netflix's Last Airbender Avatar show. It was costumes and set pieces only, nothing else with it. And it's the same thing with The Odyssey. So it seems.
And The Witcher.
James Gunn is the friend that you go, oh man, have you read that new Superman comic? He goes, no, guy, I'm reading Guy Gardner. Okay, that's my guy. I read Crazy Quilt #5. I know you guys didn't do it, but I read that, and that's how he gets off on saying he's a comic book fan, and then he'll take these characters and do whatever he wants with them. So, you know, I mean, he basically got praised for it with the Guardians, because the Guardians are nothing like the comic book characters. So
right,
but nobody cared then. It wasn't Superman level. Now it's Superman level, and people give a shit. Not that the Guardians aren't cared by some people, but like the vast majority of people didn't know who they were, so he could talk with them.
If we go back to him not knowing Clark's middle name, and some of the cope was, who knows Clark Kent's middle name? The head of DC Studios should fucking know.
Yeah,
I agree.
If anybody
Kent has a middle name.
That's an old clip. I don't know how I fucking missed it.
And if you don't know, then you hire
there's
people
that many
do
clips.
know.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's that much.
His Batman takes are even worse, and people thought that was a joke. I'm like, that's really him. That's what he thinks about, like the Dark Knight and Batman as a character. This guy like is a joke when it comes to comic book stuff.
But if the cope is like, who expects him to know like Clark Kent's like Superman's middle name, he does, because he even says in that same interview, I handed it off to you so that I didn't have to admit I didn't know. So he was trying to hide, hide the shame of it.
He lied right after that and tried to save it for the edit. You know, it's a joke, but like it just gives me like, he's always lying constantly about all this shit.
And now the movie's a flop. The DCU is very dead. It is very, very dead. There is like Man of Tomorrow has to be Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, well, it's not.
It has to be the best superhero movie we've ever seen.
And it's not going to be.
Godfather Part 2. It has to be like the greatest sequel ever made. Problem is, it's based on a horrible foundation.
Nerderotic.com. Please subscribe.